Before you came into this world, before you took a name, before you learned how to walk, how to speak, how to behave, there was a version of you that remembered everything, not with words, not with images, but with a quiet knowing. That version of you was whole, complete, clear, connected to a deeper source of wisdom. It did not doubt. It did not question its purpose. It simply was. And now, something inside you is calling you back to that memory. Not a memory of the mind, but of the soul. You did not lose that version of yourself. It has only been covered, layered, hidden beneath habits, beliefs, and roles you learned along the way. Today, we begin removing those layers. Today, I speak to the one who remembers. Write in the comments, "I remember who I am." And if you feel the call to walk deeper into Thoth's teachings and awaken the memory that has always been yours, become part of this channel now. Do not wait. Those who feel the calling recognize it instantly. There is a reason you feel like something is missing, even when everything looks fine. There is a reason you feel as if there is a door inside your mind, a door you have not opened yet. This is not a problem. This is the signal that your deeper self is waking up. Thoth taught that memory is not something behind you. Memory is something above you. It is not about remembering a past life, a past time, or a past experience. It is remembering a frequency, a way of being. You are not trying to remember events. You are trying to remember yourself. When you feel that soft pull in the chest, that quiet longing, that strange nostalgia for something you cannot name, that is the memory rising. Do not try to force it. Let it come like breath returning to the lungs. The world taught you to identify yourself with your story, your name, your background, your achievements, your struggles, but those are only clothes the soul wears for a while. They are not you. The true you existed before the story, and the true you continues after the story ends. Thoth shared that the soul is like a flame that takes form, but is never limited by the candle it burns in. When you forget who you are, it is not because you lost yourself, it is because you became too focused on the candle and forgot the flame. So now, gently, simply, bring your attention back to the flame. Feel yourself as awareness, not as identity. Notice how the flame does not need to be created. It is already here. You may ask, if I was once whole, why did I forget? You forget so that you may rediscover. You step into form to remember the formless. You enter limitation to learn to open again. This is not punishment. It is the highest path of return. A return that cannot be taught to the mind, only experienced through recognition. This is why teachings of Thoth do not speak to logic alone. They speak to the inner ear, the silent listener, the one behind the thoughts. When you listen from that place, these words do not feel like something new. They feel like something you once knew long before language existed. A familiar echo calling you home. So right now, take one slow breath, not to relax, not to calm, but to remember. Breathe as if you are breathing in the part of you that has always been awake, the part of you that has seen lifetimes, worlds, suns rise and fall, the part that has watched the unfolding of existence with patience and quiet clarity. Do not try to understand this, just allow it. The soul does not return through effort. It returns through permission, through listening, through simple presence. You are not becoming something new. You are returning to something ancient. And when you return, the world around you begins to look different. What once felt heavy begins to soften. What once felt confusing begins to open. You begin to see that your life has always been guiding you, even through the moments that felt darkest. Every challenge was a signpost. Every pause was a doorway. Every silence was a reminder. Nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. The memory of who you were before you were born has been walking with you, waiting for the moment you would be ready to look inward again. And that moment is now. You are not hearing these words by accident. You are hearing them because something in you knows it is time. Time to return to the flame. Time to open the inner door. Time to remember the stillness that existed before thought, the peace that existed before fear, the truth that existed before form. When you remember that version of yourself, life does not become easier. It becomes clearer. You begin to live from presence, not reaction, from depth, not surface, from purpose, not habit. And that is the beginning of awakening. And we continue, because now we step into the core of Thoth's path. How to remember, not with thought, but with being. How to awaken the memory hidden in the heart. The path of remembering is not a path of adding more information to your mind. It is the opposite. You remember by releasing, by letting go, by loosening the tightness around who you think you are. Most people try to awaken by collecting knowledge, ideas, and spiritual concepts, but the one who remembers does not collect. The one who remembers clears. When Thoth taught the art of remembrance, he pointed not to complexity, but to simplicity so pure that the mind at first resists it. Your deepest self has always been simple, still, open. It did not need to prove itself. It did not need to become better. It was complete at the beginning. So now the true work is not striving upward. It is sinking inward, into the quiet place where the original memory waits like a soft light behind your heart. You may notice that sometimes you feel a sudden wave of recognition for no reason, a familiar feeling without a source. This is not random. This is contact with the deeper self. You are touching the memory field of your origin. It comes not when you force it, but when something inside relaxes. When the mind stops pressing forward and simply observes. It is like hearing a sound from very far away, a sound you once knew, and even though you cannot describe it, the moment you hear it, something in you says, "Yes, I remember." That moment is the door. And that door does not open through effort. It opens through presence, through softness, through attention without tension. The memory is not locked, it is simply quiet. And now you are learning how to listen again. There is a deeper intelligence inside you that does not speak in language. It speaks in sensation, in subtle intuition, in a calm certainty that needs no explanation. Thoth taught that the heart is not merely an organ of emotion, but a mirror of the eternal self. When the heart is peaceful, memory rises naturally. When the heart is heavy, memory sinks below the surface. So if you want to remember who you were before you were born, the question is not, how do I find it? The question is, how do I become still enough to recognize what is already here? This is the shift. Instead of searching outward, you begin turning inward, not with force, but with gentle curiosity, like watching sunlight move through a quiet room. When you look at yourself, most of what you see is learned. You learned how to react. You learned what to fear. You learned what to desire. You learned how to carry yourself. But you were not born with those patterns. You absorbed them from the world. They are not wrong. They are not mistakes. They are simply layers, and layers can be lifted. Slowly, kindly, without struggle. The original self is not fragile. It is steady. It does not break. It does not disappear. It only waits. And now, you are standing closer to it than you realize. The fact that you are listening to these words means the remembering has already begun. Imagine your inner self as a clear lake. If the water is disturbed, you see only ripples, movement, distortion. But when the water becomes still, you see depth. You see reflection. The world taught you to live in ripples. Constant motion, constant reaction, constant noise. Yet the memory of who you were before you were born lives in the depth beneath the ripples. To return to that depth, you do not need to escape the world. You simply need to learn how to be still within it. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. The flame we spoke of earlier does not flicker. It simply burns. You have heard people say that awakening requires effort, but there is a deeper truth. Awakening requires honesty. The honesty to admit when something inside you feels off. The honesty to listen when your heart asks for silence. The honesty to recognize when the life you are living does not match who you truly are. Many feel the disconnect, but they ignore it because the world rewards pretending. But you are not here to pretend. You are here to return, to realign with the clarity that was yours before memory took form. And that clarity has never abandoned you. You might think remembering will feel dramatic, powerful, like lightning, but often remembering comes quietly, softly, like a breeze through an open window. Suddenly you feel more present, more aware, more yourself, and nothing external has changed. This is how the deeper self returns, not as a new identity, but as the removal of the old one. Thoth spoke of the unveiling of the familiar, not discovering something new, but recognizing what has always been here. The moment you stop trying to become, you begin to remember. The world taught you to chase purpose, to define yourself through tasks, achievements, roles. But your purpose is not something you chase, it is something you allow to emerge. Purpose is not a mission you invent. It is the natural expression of who you are when you are not divided inside, when your actions match your truth, when your voice matches your inner knowing, when your life becomes a reflection of your inner flame. And that is what remembering restores. If you look closely at your life, you will see that there were always moments that whispered to you, moments of calm awareness, moments of deep presence, moments where everything felt connected. These were not accidents. These were glimpses of your original self rising to the surface. The reason they felt special is because they were real. They were not created by the mind. They emerged from the soul. And the more you allow space for stillness, the more often these moments appear until they stop being moments and become your way of being. You do not need to fight your past. You do not need to erase anything. You simply learn how to release what is not yours, like opening your hand after holding something too tightly. The memory of who you were before you were born does not need to be built. It needs to be uncovered. Remembering is not an achievement. It is a return, a soft, steady dissolving of what you are not. And now we move even deeper. What if your life has been guiding you back to this remembering the entire time? What if every moment of confusion was simply a signal pointing you to look inward? What if the part of you that feels out of place in this world is the very proof that you came from a place beyond it? There is a place inside you that does not think in words, yet it understands everything. This place does not rush, it does not push, it does not chase. It observes. It watches the flow of your life with a clarity that the thinking mind cannot imitate. Most people live only on the surface, reacting to every thought and emotion as if those reactions are who they are. But when you begin to remember who you were before you were born, something changes in the way you experience yourself. You stop reacting from habit and begin responding from presence. You no longer believe every fear that appears in your mind. You no longer take every passing thought as truth. You begin to see that your awareness is older than your emotions. It existed before your first breath, and it is still here, waiting to be recognized. You have been taught your whole life to look outside for direction, validation, purpose, identity, but the self that remembers does not search outward. It turns inward and listens, not with the ears, but with the still center behind the chest. Thoth taught that real memory rises not through thought, but through alignment. When your inner state matches your original nature, remembrance happens naturally. It is not forced. It is not dramatic. It unfolds like a sunrise across the sky of your awareness, and once it begins, it does not reverse. You cannot unremember the truth of who you are. You can only learn how to stay with it, gently, consistently, without rushing. If you want to understand who you were before you were born, do not try to imagine a scene. Do not try to create a story. Stories belong to the mind, but the memory you seek belongs to the soul. And the soul does not speak in pictures, it speaks in resonance, in a calm certainty that has no need to explain itself. The moment you feel that quiet certainty, you are remembering. Even if your mind does not understand it, even if you cannot describe it, the soul remembers in silence, and the silence is not empty. It is full of everything you were before the world taught you who to be. There is something you may not have noticed yet. Every moment of stillness in your life, every time you paused, every time you stopped trying to control your experience, something opened. That opening was your original self rising for a moment. The part of you that is infinite does not push. It waits. It watches. It stays. When you stop trying to control life, you return to the natural rhythm that existed before your first breath. This rhythm does not need to be learned. It is already inside you. Returning to it is like relaxing into warm water after being tense for years. You do not need to try. You simply allow. Many people believe that remembering who they were before they were born will feel like gaining something extra. More power, more clarity, more insight. But in truth, it feels like something unnecessary finally falling away. The noise becomes quieter. The doubt becomes lighter. The desire to prove yourself begins to dissolve. You do not become more, you become real. You become the one who does not need to posture, to perform, or to hide. You return to the simplicity that was always your nature. And from that simplicity, strength arises without effort. Notice how your mind tries to label everything. It wants to categorize, to define, to explain. But the memory of your eternal self cannot be captured with labels. It does not need to be named to be known. When a river flows, it does not need to say, "I am a river." When fire burns, it does not need to say, "I am fire." Your true self does not need identity to exist. Identity is for communication with the world, presence is for communion with the infinite, and remembering is simply a shift from identity to presence. As you listen, something subtle may be happening inside you, a small loosening, a softening, a quiet recognition. Do not try to hold on to it. Do not try to analyze it. Let it expand at its own pace. The deeper self does not respond to force. It responds to invitation, and you are inviting it now by listening without resistance. The moment you stop trying to understand, you begin to recognize. Understanding belongs to the mind. Recognition belongs to the soul. And recognition is what restores memory. There is no rush in this return, no urgency. The eternal does not hurry. The flame does not fear that it will go out. It knows its source. And you too have a source that cannot be taken from you. You are not trying to become something new. You are uncovering what has always been here, layer by layer, breath by breath, moment by moment. The remembering is already happening, not in the future, now, in this exact moment that you are hearing these words. And now we move to the next step, the step where memory begins to take form in your daily life, where presence begins to guide your choices, where the inner flame begins to illuminate everything from within. There is a threshold inside you that few ever notice. It is not dramatic, it is not loud. It is like a thin moment between one breath and the next, where everything becomes still for a fraction of a second. Most people pass through this threshold every day without realizing it, but it is there. The doorway between your thinking self and your eternal self. When you begin to recognize this doorway, you realize that remembering is not a task. It is a shift in where you place your attention. When attention rests on the surface, you experience yourself as the character in your story. When attention sinks inward, you experience yourself as the presence that existed before the story began. This shift can happen in an instant, even now, as you hear these words. If you allow them to reach the space behind thought, you do not remember by forcing memory to return. You remember by noticing what has always been quietly present. The awareness that is observing your thoughts right now. That awareness is the same awareness that existed before your first memory of childhood. It did not begin when you learned your name. It was there before language, before identity, before time had meaning. Most people overlook this awareness because it is not dramatic. It does not push to be noticed. It is gentle, silent, constant. Like the sky behind the clouds change. The sky remains. The awareness remains. Remembering who you were before you were born is remembering the sky. There are moments when you feel disconnected, lost, uncertain. These moments are not failures, they are signals. They are moments when the deeper self is knocking from the inside, asking you to turn inward. Not to escape life, but to see it clearly. When you feel lost, it is not because you have gone the wrong way. It is because you have been looking outward too long. The remembering does not happen in the noise. It happens in the pause after the noise. And it is often so subtle that the mind tries to dismiss it, but the soul recognizes it instantly. This is the direction. And even if you cannot explain it, something inside you nods. Consider this. What if the deepest truths are not found by adding anything to yourself, but by removing what was never yours? The fear that was taught to you, the expectations you absorbed, the beliefs you adopted, because others believed them first. None of that belonged to the original you, the one who existed before the world told you how to be. Remembering is not becoming more, it is becoming real. The real self does not need to be impressive, it does not need to be extraordinary. It simply shines because it is not blocking its own light. There is a form of clarity that arises when you stop trying to control life, not because you give up, but because something in you recognizes that control was never the source of security. Presence was. When you are present, life does not feel like something happening to you. It feels like something unfolding through you. Your actions become natural. Your choices become grounded. Your speech becomes aligned. and your inner world feels less heavy, less tight, less fragmented. This is remembering. It does not come with fireworks, it comes with returning. Most people think awareness must be achieved, but awareness is your natural state. What you call awareness practice is simply removing what blocks your sight. Imagine dust on a window. You do not have to create the view. The view is already there. You simply clean the glass. Thoughts, fears, expectations, these are the dust. Awareness is the view. The remembering is what happens when the glass clears, even slightly. And even a single moment of clear vision is enough to change the direction of an entire life. The deeper self is patient. It has waited through years, through seasons, through every chapter of your experience. It has never been urgent. It does not hurry you. It simply remains, and every time you feel that subtle pull toward stillness, that is the deeper self calling you back. Not to escape life, but to live from a deeper place inside life. A place where you are not driven by habit, but guided by inner clarity. This is the point where life begins to feel different, though nothing has changed externally. The change begins within. There is something important now. The remembering will not come through thinking about it. The mind cannot return to what existed before the mind formed. The remembering happens through sensing, through presence, through noticing the awareness behind your thoughts. Right now, pause. Notice that you are aware of your own awareness. That subtle recognition, that is the original self, the one who existed before form. You have just touched it. And when you learn to live from that awareness, your way of being changes. You no longer react from old patterns. You respond from presence. You no longer chase meaning. Meaning arises naturally from your being. You no longer try to hold life. You allow it to flow. And in this flow, something ancient awakens, not something mysterious, something familiar, something you have always known. Now we step even deeper. There is a layer of memory beneath emotion, beneath thought, beneath sensation. It is the memory of being, the memory of existence itself, the memory of the moment before your first breath. This memory does not contain events. It contains essence. It is what allows you to feel that you are you, even when everything external changes. If your surroundings changed, if your name changed, if your story changed, the awareness of being you would remain. That awareness is the memory of who you were before you were born. Notice something now. The moment you stop trying to grasp this with intellect, you begin to feel it. That feeling is the doorway. Do not rush through it. Stand at the threshold. Let the memory rise at its own pace. The deeper self does not reveal itself to force. It reveals itself to openness, to willingness, to quiet recognition. And as you listen, something inside you is already opening. And now we continue even further, because there is another layer waiting, one that shifts everything you understand about yourself, your path, and your purpose. But we will not rush into it. We will enter slowly, with presence and with clarity. Not as a follower, but as one who remembers the ancient flame. Subscribe only if you recognize the call. You are not a being trying to reach the divine. You are the divine remembering its own name. The ancient memory does not return through effort, but through recognition. The moment you stop searching outside, the veil thins. The silence behind your thoughts is the doorway you have been ignoring. Thoth does not teach you something new. He turns your gaze inward to the memory of your own eternity. And this remembrance does not come all at once. It unfolds in layers, each one revealing something you always knew, but had forgotten you knew. The question is never how to remember, but why you stopped remembering in the first place. And as this realization begins to move inside your awareness, something subtle shifts, almost imperceptible, but irreversible. The return has already begun.